They thought leaving you was the best decision they ever made. They expected you to fall apart, to chase after them, to beg for another chance. But you won't. You won't give them the satisfaction. Instead, you vanish. No explanations, no arguments, no desperate texts, just silence. And that silence, it's louder than any words you could ever say. At first, they feel relieved. They think they made the right choice. But as time passes, the silence starts to weigh on them. Doubt creeps in. Their mind starts playing tricks on them. Did I make a mistake? Why haven't they reached out? Have they moved on? This isn't about revenge. It's about control. It's about flipping the script and making them feel the absence they never saw coming. Today, I'll show you how to use dark psychology to make them regret losing you, without saying a single word. If you're ready to reclaim your power, hit that subscribe button, like this video, and let's begin. The psychology of regret. Regret doesn't strike immediately. It creeps in slowly, like a shadow they can't escape. At first, they feel powerful. They convince themselves they made the right choice, that walking away was the best thing they could have done. In their mind, you were disposable, replaceable, forgettable. But as time moves forward, the weight of their decision starts pressing down on them. What starts as a passing thought, just a moment of curiosity, slowly turns into doubt, then anxiety, then obsession. Why haven't you reached out? Why aren't you begging for another chance? Why does it feel like you've disappeared completely? Regret isn't just about missing someone. It's about losing control. And when they realize they no longer have access to you, that's when the fear sets in. There are 3 psychological principles that turn this regret into an obsession. 3 forces that make them question everything they thought they knew. 1. The Zeigarnik Effect, the power of unfinished business. The human brain is wired to seek closure. Unresolved situations create mental tension, forcing us to search for answers. When something is left incomplete, it lingers in the mind, replaying over and over. Now, think about what happens when you suddenly disappear. No goodbye, no explanation, just silence. You leave an open loop they can't close. And the more they try to move on, the stronger that unfinished business weighs on them. They replay your last conversation, dissecting every word, looking for clues they'll never find. They think about the way you used to be, how you would have reacted, how you would have fought to keep them. But now, nothing. And that silence, it drives them insane. Because when they can't find closure, their mind fills in the blanks for them. And the longer this goes on, the stronger their emotional attachment becomes. But an open loop isn't enough to make them chase. To trigger real regret, we tap into something even more powerful: the fear of losing something forever. 2. Loss aversion. People fear losing more than they enjoy winning. Psychologists have proven that humans experience the pain of loss twice as intensely as the pleasure of gain. This is why gamblers keep playing even after losing, because their mind isn't focused on winning. It's desperately trying to avoid loss. And when you walk away, you trigger this exact same response. They don't just feel your absence, they fear it. At first, they thought they had control. They thought they were the ones making the decision. But now they're questioning everything. What if they made a mistake? What if they lost something they'll never get back? What if someone else sees your value when they didn't? This isn't about them missing you. It's about them realizing they may never get you back. And that fear is far more powerful than any lingering feelings they had before. But fear alone won't drive them into obsession. There's one more psychological force at play, one that turns their regret into a relentless craving. 3. Reverse validation, starving them of your attention. Attention is one of the most powerful currencies in human interaction. It validates our existence. It reassures us that we matter. And when someone is used to receiving your attention, when they're used to being the center of your world, they take it for granted. But what happens when you take that attention away, when you give them nothing? Suddenly they start craving it, wondering why it's gone, wondering if they were ever that important to you in the first place. And that craving? It turns into an obsession. Because people don't just miss attention, they chase it, they need it, and when they can't get it, they start doing anything they can to earn it back. This is why ignoring someone is often more powerful than engaging with them. Because silence creates uncertainty, and uncertainty leads to fear. Understanding these principles isn't just about recognizing their regret. It's about comprehending the psychological mechanisms at play. By mastering this knowledge, you can navigate your interactions with a newfound sense of control and awareness. So now they're thinking about you, replaying every moment, feeling the weight of their decisions. But what happens next? How do you amplify their regret and make them chase? That's exactly what we're about to dive into next. Dark psychology tactics. Now that you understand the psychology behind regret, let's talk about how to amplify it. These are the dark psychology tactics that will make them question everything. 1. The art of vanishing, becoming the ghost they can't forget. When someone leaves you, they expect a reaction, maybe a desperate message, an emotional plea, or even a last attempt to make things work. But instead of giving them what they expect, you do the opposite. You vanish. No messages, no explanations, no social media interactions. You become a ghost. This isn't just about ignoring them. It's about creating a psychological void, an absence so profound that it forces them to notice. At first, they feel in control. They assume you'll eventually break the silence. But as days turn into weeks, something shifts. The absence they once ignored becomes impossible to forget. They start wondering, why haven't they reached out? Have they moved on? Did they ever care at all? Their brain searches for answers, but there's nothing. Only silence. And the mind hates unanswered questions. It obsesses over them, trying to find meaning where none is given. Your disappearance becomes a puzzle they can't solve, an itch they can't scratch. And that frustration, it turns into an obsession. Because when someone disappears completely, we don't forget them. We fixate on them. But disappearing alone isn't enough. If you really want to get inside their head, you need to create conflict in their own mind. And that's where the contradiction trap comes in. 2. The contradiction trap, making them doubt their own decisions. People like to believe they've made the right choices. It's called cognitive consistency, the idea that we naturally justify our actions to avoid feeling regret. When they left, they convinced themselves they were better off. They believed life would be easier without you. But what happens when that belief starts to crack? Here's the key. You don't argue. You don't prove them wrong. You become the contradiction. Imagine they check up on you, maybe through mutual friends or social media. Instead of seeing someone struggling, they see someone thriving. You look better. You're more confident. Your life seems full, exciting, better than before, and suddenly their mind starts racing. Wait, if leaving was the right choice, why do they seem happier? Why do they look better? Did I make a mistake? This is how the contradiction trap works. It forces them to question everything. They wanted to believe they downgraded you, but instead they see someone who has leveled up without them. And that's a tough pill to swallow. Because now their brain is stuck in an uncomfortable loop. If leaving was supposed to be the right decision, then why does it feel like they're the ones who lost? And the moment they start doubting their choice, regret becomes inevitable. But doubt alone isn't enough to drive them crazy. There's one more force at play, one that makes their minds spiral out of control: the fear of being replaced. 3. The fear of replacement, letting their imagination destroy them. One of the deepest human fears is being replaced, realizing that we weren't as important as we thought. When you go silent, you don't just create absence, you create uncertainty. And uncertainty is far more powerful than any direct message. If you posted about moving on, they might be jealous, but at least they'd have an answer. But when you give them nothing, their mind spirals. Are they with someone new? Have they already replaced me? Was I ever special to them at all? And here's where it gets even worse. Without information, the mind fills in the blanks, and it always assumes the worst. Maybe you've found someone better. Maybe you've outgrown them. Maybe they were never that important to begin with. This thought alone is enough to drive them mad. They start watching your social media, asking mutual friends, looking for any sign that they still matter. And the more they search, the more powerless they feel. Because the moment they believe they've been replaced is the moment they realize they were never in control to begin with. So now you've vanished, you've made them question their decisions, and you've left them drowning in uncertainty. But what's the next move? How do you turn this power into an advantage? That's exactly what we're about to cover next. How to make them chase you. You've disappeared. You've made them question everything. You've planted the fear of being replaced. But now, how do you make them chase you? How do you flip the script and shift the power dynamic completely in your favor? These are the 3 dark psychology tactics that make them crave your presence again, even if they thought they were done with you. 1. The status shift, becoming the prize. When they left, they thought they were upgrading. They assumed life would be better without you. They believed you would stay the same, stuck in the past, waiting for them. But what happens when they see that you didn't just survive without them? You thrived. The key to making them chase you isn't manipulation, it's transformation. You become the person they regret losing by improving every aspect of your life. Physically, mentally, socially. Hit the gym, upgrade your style, expand your social circles, win at life. And here's where it gets interesting. They will notice. Even if they don't reach out, they will watch from the shadows. Mutual friends, social media, random encounters. They will hear about your growth, and that's when doubt creeps in. Did I misjudge them? Are they actually better off without me? Have I made a mistake? And that doubt slowly turns into something stronger, a feeling they can't ignore, because now they see you as something they want but can't have. But just changing yourself isn't enough. If you really want them to chase, you need to master the one thing they never expected: emotional detachment. 2. Emotional detachment, the ultimate power move. People are drawn to what they can't fully have. The moment you show them that you don't need them, that their presence or absence makes no difference to you, you become irresistible. This isn't about playing games or ignoring them out of spite. It's about refusing to give them emotional power over you. Think about it. When someone knows they can get a reaction out of you, they feel in control. They can push your buttons. They can manipulate your emotions. But the moment you stop reacting, they panic. They lose their grip. They start wondering, why aren't they affected? Why don't they care? Were they ever really attached to me at all? And that's when something shifts. The roles reverse. Now they're the ones analyzing every detail, looking for answers, trying to make sense of why you seem completely unbothered. And the more indifferent you are, the more obsessed they become. But detachment alone isn't enough. You need to make them feel something even stronger, the pain of your absence. 3. The power of absence, making them feel your loss. Familiarity breeds complacency. The more accessible you are, the less valuable you seem. But when you remove yourself completely, that's when they start to feel your loss. Imagine someone who always had your attention, your presence, your time. They took it for granted because it was always there. But suddenly, you're gone. No calls, no messages, no presence in their life. What happens next? At first, they don't notice. Then they assume you'll be back. But as days turn into weeks, something shifts. The silence becomes unbearable. The absence becomes painful. They check their phone more often. They revisit old conversations. They wonder why you're not reaching out. And before they know it, they start missing you in ways they never expected. And here's where it gets dangerous for them, because their brain starts to play tricks on them. They imagine the worst. What if they've moved on? What if they've found someone better? What if I wasn't as special as I thought? Without answers, their mind fills in the blanks, and it always assumes the worst. That's why absence is more powerful than words. It forces them to sit with their own fears and insecurities. Now, they're checking your social media, looking for clues. Now, they're asking mutual friends about you. Now, they're wondering if you were the one who replaced them. So now, they're watching you, questioning everything, feeling your absence in a way they never imagined. But what happens when they finally reach out? That's what we'll cover next. How to handle their return and turn the tables completely. The final power move. By now, they regret losing you. They question their choices. They feel the weight of their mistake. They thought they could replace you, that you were just another chapter in their story. But now, something has shifted. The silence, the uncertainty, the realization that you're gone, it's all sinking in. And that's when the fear sets in. Because the real power move, you don't let them back in. You see, the best revenge isn't proving them wrong. It's proving yourself right. The goal was never to make them chase. The goal was to become someone they can never reach again. 1. The transformation they can't touch. When they left, they assumed you would stay the same, that you would wait, that you would struggle, that you would never move on. But instead, you used that time to evolve, to become the version of yourself that was always waiting to be unleashed. You didn't just move on, you leveled up, mentally, physically, emotionally. You built a life so full, so strong, that by the time they realize what they lost, you're already miles ahead. And that's when the regret becomes unbearable. Because while they stayed stagnant, you became untouchable. At first, they won't admit it. They'll pretend they don't care. But deep down, they feel it. The loss, the absence, the power shift. Suddenly, the person they took for granted is now the one they can't stop thinking about. But transformation alone isn't enough. The real power move is what comes next, your silence. 2. The power of no response. At some point, they will reach out. Maybe it's a casual, "Hey, how have you been?" Maybe it's an emotional attempt to reconnect. Maybe it's a like on your post, a random message, a coincidental encounter. It doesn't matter, because your response? Nothing. Not out of anger, not out of spite, but because you genuinely don't need to respond. They expect closure. They expect validation. They expect that no matter how much time has passed, they still have a place in your life. But they don't. And that silence? It cuts deeper than words ever could. Because nothing is more powerful than showing someone they no longer have access to you. They don't get the reassurance that you still care. They don't get to rewrite the narrative. They don't get to come back and pretend nothing happened. They are left with the one thing they never wanted to feel, the consequences of their actions. You see, people aren't afraid of losing you. They're afraid of realizing they already have. But here's the real secret. The most powerful move isn't just ignoring them. It's continuing to move forward like they never existed. 3. Moving forward without looking back. True power isn't in holding grudges. It's in outgrowing the past. You don't just block them. You don't just ignore them. You make them irrelevant. You step into new experiences, new relationships, new levels of success. You become the person they wish they had never walked away from. And the hardest part for them? Watching you live the life they thought you could never have, without them. They'll search for signs that you still care, that there's still a way back in, that they still hold a place in your heart. But all they'll find is emptiness, a door they can never reopen, a version of you they will never have access to again. And that's when it hits them. This wasn't just a breakup, it was a turning point. You weren't just someone they lost. You became someone they'll regret losing for the rest of their lives. By now, you understand the power of silence, the strength of detachment, the art of becoming someone they'll never forget, but can never have again. But this is just the beginning. You see, power isn't given. It isn't asked for. It isn't begged for. Power is built. And if you're ready to become untouchable, if you're ready to step into your full potential, then hit that subscribe button right now. Because in the next video, I'll show you how to use reverse psychology to make them chase you, without you lifting a finger. Turn on notifications because you won't want to miss what's coming next.